Welcome to Model Steam Engine's Top Tip Time. This one is part 4. The reason for this compilation video today was because yesterday I couldn't really go into the workshop as I was due to have an MRI scan at York Hospital in the early evening. And I really didn't think it was a good idea to have an MRI scan in case I had some metal particles on my person. The last time I put anything on here about prostate cancer, one really stupid viewer who turns stupidity into an art form said, "Oh, I'm not bothered about prostate cancer, I just want to watch steam engines." I apologise for automatically assuming that this viewer must have spoken using a really stupid voice. Anyway, I'll try and be quick. So I went for an MRI scan last night and it was quite an interesting experience. It's a massive big machine and it makes a really good noise. Why I'm mentioning all this is not just because I'm telling you about my problems, it's because I've come up with sort of a theory that I would like to put to a test and ask my 68,000 or so subscribers to my YouTube channel if they'll help me with it. For me, it's been an interesting fact when I first got diabetes that I suddenly found out most of my friends were also type 2 diabetic. And by all of them, I mean about 90%. And a few of them called round to see me and we had various chats about diabetes. And I ended up with a drawer full of Viagra, because one of the symptoms of type 2 diabetes can be erectile dysfunction. And most of my friends seem to be getting Viagra on the national health. It's no good for me at all, because I don't have a partner nor do I want one. I've been married twice and that's more than enough. The only possible use I would have for Viagra would be to stop me falling out of bed. Sorry about the old joke. The special video I'm going to make tomorrow will be asking a question directly related to prostate cancer. Because according to the YouTube statistics of people who watch my channel, they are between the ages of 50 and 80 years mainly, right in the time domain for prostate cancer. By speaking to a few of my friends with prostate cancer, who are still alive obviously, but also to the relatives of people who have died from prostate cancer, I've arrived at a disturbing conclusion. And I want to know whether it's just coincidence or whether other people all over the world have had similar problems. Between having my first MRI scan last year and the first biopsy, something happened because the biopsy results didn't agree with the MRI scan. That's because during this period I did something different. That's enough for now. I'll go into detail in tomorrow's video. I'm now going to resume the Top Tip Time episode, all about repairing damaged paintwork, which I seem to do quite a lot of. This is the tender of my 5-inch gauge Lion locomotive. It had originally been painted with Hammerite green paint. Originally this green paint was applied quite thickly, and there was a really bad chip on one side. I repaired this by filling the chip and other blemishes using some enamel paint, and once I rubbed this down and recoated 2 or 3 times, I sprayed the entire panel. These clips are from a series called A Lion Locomotive in 5-inch gauge, and if you want more details I would suggest that you watch the entire series. Straight to work. The paintwork is chipped in places and this needs repairing to make the tender look good. The paint on any part of a steam locomotive or tender that is made from brass is going to be prone to chipping, because brass doesn't take paint very well. Unless of course you use 2-pack paint, but this is not very suitable for spraying in and around the home workshop. A quick tip, take your time with this because you don't want to mark any more of the paint. It's a good idea when all the paint is gone from round the edge to remove the loose particles using a compressed air line as shown here. Leaping into the picture now is a tin of Brasso wadding. This is great stuff to use in the workshop, especially for polishing brass. I soon developed an effective system for doing this job. In my right hand I have a piece of wet or dry sandpaper, and then I change it for a piece of Brasso wadding, which I use to polish up the half-round beading around the edge of the tender. After the Brasso, I just use a cloth to shine everything up. Here's the first piece of damaged paint I want to have a look at. And apart from the chips around the top which have been removed, This is the worst bit. What I'm currently doing is using the tip of a piece of wetted dry sandpaper to score the surface of the brass on the damaged part. Now it's time to mix the paint. Lee Griffiths, the man who I bought this engine from, said as far as he was aware, the tender and parts of the engine had been painted using Halford's Smooth Right paint. But I haven't got any of that at the moment, so I'm going to try and match the paint colour using a tin of Humbrol gloss enamel and add some Humbrol satin black paint to it. I didn't get it right immediately, this was too bright. Adding some more Humbrol satin black to the mix made it a lot better. There was a bad chip on the handrail, so I sanded this down, but I painted the entire handrail to make it match. The tank top covers are just secured by some brass bolts. I'm unscrewing these so I can remove the tank tops and paint them remotely from the tender. When I bought this engine, the seller said to me that the paint colour was Hammerite Smooth Right dark green. I went onto Amazon and bought a tin of this paint, and I bought it in aerosol form so I'll be able to spray it. Apart from a very bad paint chip on one side of the tender, the worst damage was to the tank top covers. The tender is made from brass, and touching in paint around the edge of a cover is never going to look good. So the plan is to remove these covers and then remove the paint from the covers. This Hammerite paint was quite well stuck to the brass. I was surprised. The cellulose thinners did dissolve it, and I helped it along by using a brass wire brush. The second tank top had been in the cellulose thinners for a bit longer while I cleaned up the first one, and as you can see, the paint is falling off it. Soon enough it was time to start the painting. This Hammerite smooth paint is quite different to other paints. It's very easy to put too much on. I applied the paint in stages with several light coats. I didn't leave very much time between the coats, I just left enough time for the paint to settle. If you apply too much of this paint in one go, it builds up around the edges and doesn't look good at all. Here's a gratuitous shot of the paint drying. The paint flattened off quite a lot more before it dried. Time to go back to the rest of the job. My repair to the large paint chip on the side was quite successful, but I think it's time to rub down the paint on the side and repaint it with the spray. This aerosol can sprays very well, although it does come out at quite a rate. When I do jobs like this over existing paint, I'm always a little worried that the paint will react and bubble. But in this case, thankfully, it didn't. Here's a shot of the paint drying, and the repair is quite good. I wouldn't say the paint chip is invisible. If you get it in a certain light, you can detect it. Here's the finished job. I've replaced the top tank covers, and everything seems to look quite good. And that's it for this episode of Top Tip Time. Stay safe, stay healthy. Thanks for watching, and I hope you found it useful. Please take the time to visit my Mainsteam Models website and click on the section of the website that says Video Playlists. And by doing that, you can find other videos that you may like to watch. And by using the playlists, you can actually watch the videos back to back.